Welcome back to Comical Opinions. Today we have a review of Transformers number 5 from Image Comics. And in this issue, the Transformers, or I should say the Autobots, finally get a source of Energon to start rebuilding their ranks, but not before the Decepticons come along and squash their hopes of rebuilding. But before we get started, please like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell for notification. Your thumbs up helps keep us going, and it would be greatly appreciated. So let's get into it. Transformers number 5 is written and drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson, colors by Mike Spicer, letters by Russ Muton, and the main cover, cover A, is also drawn by Daniel Warren Johnson with the help of Mike Spicer on colors. Now, if you're keeping up with the series, if you recall what happened in Transformers number 4, Optimus Prime got Spike to a hospital after he was severely injured in issue number 2, or I should say issue number 3, and the hospital was attacked by Starscream and a bevy of Decepticons. They were pretty much surrounded and getting ready to be destroyed when Ratchet managed to temporarily, at least, revive a few Autobots to even out the ranks and drive the Decepticons back. And in the big wow, cool, that's awesome moment in the final page, Optimus replaced his missing arm with the arm of Megatron, which apparently he's carrying around most of Megatron's parts in the back of his cap. So now you have Optimus with a Megatron arm that's got the big gun sight on it as a cool wow moment, and that actually comes into play in this issue. So what happens in Transformers number 5? Well, Sparky and Optimus, Sparky, who is Spike's father, have a brief moment to commiserate about the pain that they feel over the ravages of war, and how they both fought in wars at one point or another. Optimus's war is still ongoing, obviously, but they talk about how they wish that there was just an opportunity for peace and that they didn't have to fight all the time. And you definitely feel that sort of deep-seated emotional beat that Daniel Warren Johnson creates in that moment between two soldiers who are just sort of tired of fighting and wish that the killing would stop. So which is what they're doing while they're waiting for Spike to recover and hopefully get a little bit better. In the meantime, Ratchet and revives a couple of the Autobots long enough to start building out a turbine engine connected to a dam. So instead of going to a power plant to try and draw energy to build Energon, they're going right to the source with a hydroelectric dam that's going to help them basically generate all the energy that they could possibly need to start filling out their ranks. On the flip side, Starscream goes back to the Ark, and after what happened in the last issue, he's essentially cannibalizing or dissecting Skywarp's body for him to help reassemble some of the Decepticons that were still knocked out after the Ark crashed however many years ago. And then what happens is they get an alert or a detection that the Autobots are starting to generate power, and they go on the Decepticons that have been revived, including Thundercracker, Reflector, and Frenzy, go on the offensive to the hydroelectric dam, and a big battle ensues where Optimus gets to show off his Megatron gun and basically start filling out the ranks. And you'll get even more cameos with the inclusion of RC and Cliffjumper and a few others. So the whole thing winds up essentially turning into a stalemate where with the additional Autobots, the Decepticons are forced to flee, especially when Optimus starts unloading his Megatron gun and forces everybody back. But when the Autobots kind of get enough people together and enough energy together and enough time together to even out the odds, and they decide to head back to the Ark to see if they can reclaim the ship, they're met with even more Decepticons with a big whiz bang wow last page finale that we're not going to spoil here, but it's a keeper. So interesting fact about this series that so far is Daniel Warren Johnson is not going to be on the series forever. Even though we love his writing and we love his art, he's not the permanent creator going forward. My understanding is that he's rolling off after issue 6-ish. Or on the art, and then rolling off as writer somewhere around issue 12, presumably, if it's spaced out into 6-issue arcs, which may or may not be the case. we'll see how that turns out. But we're going to be sad to see him go. He's been doing a fantastic job on this series, and we wish him well in whatever things he continues to do after this fact. But I would say that Sky Image and Skybound made a really smart choice by start kicking off the series with Daniel Warren Johnson, and so we hope that he has a chance to come back after he decides to roll off and do some other things, and he'll come back later on to do even more with the Transformers, because it's been great so far. Okay, so what do we think about Transformers number 5? Lots of action, fast-paced, exciting, edge of your seat stuff. Decepticons go down permanently or not, we'll see. Autobots go down permanently or not, we'll see. You definitely see that there's force and destruction and possibly even death involved in their battle. So every fight counts. Every fight has stakes. And now that there are humans involved, the Autobots now have their attention split. So rather than just fighting between the Autobots and the Decepticons, the Autobots are fighting the Decepticons while they're trying to protect the humans at the same time. So that puts them at a disadvantage, that automatically gives them a challenge that has to be overcome, and puts them back on their heels a little bit. And as far as the cliffhanger goes, I'm not going to spoil it, but I will just say, and I'll give you a hint. If you know the Transformers, I will say that the cliffhanger is pretty devastating. So if you know where I'm going with that hint, you know exactly what's coming, and it pays off. It looks fantastic. What don't we like about Transformers number 5? Honestly, I think the kind of the minor down point, and it's just an undercurrent, is there's really sort of no plan that you can kind of get your arms around. I mean, when Optimus is struggling to rebuild the Autobots, and he just sort of goes off and say, "Okay, we've got enough. Let's just go get the Ark," when they really don't have enough. It just seems like he's shooting from the hip, which for a seasoned leader and basically a general of his forces, you'd think he'd be a little bit smarter than that, and anticipate that maybe it's not safe to just go charging in when you're just getting folks back up on their feet. So it seems a little off kilter, or maybe even slightly out of character for Optimus for in this series. And I know the lion's share of the issue is focused on the action and the adventure and really getting into it. But I mean, Optimus is smarter than this, and he should be acting it. And this seems like a little bit of a boneheaded move to just go charging right back in. How about the art? Well, if you're a fan of Daniel Warren Johnson's art, you still have a lot to like here. He has this way of, even though the lines are kind of scratchy, he has this way of just using that scratchiness to inject dynamicism and motion and energy into every panel. And he also has a fantastic eye for dramatic moments just without any words at all. There's going to be one page, it's not a splash page, well, it's close enough to a splash page, where Optimus steps forward and he's carrying the body of an Autobot that hasn't been resurrected yet, and as soon as you see it, you know. So I mean, and this just kind of wow moments that know how to grab you. Johnson knows how to grab you with his art, and it looks fantastic. As a minor down point, there are a few panels in here that look a little rushed. It looked a little bit, well, I won't just say sloppy, but just a little haphazard, like they were done in a rush. And yeah, it's noticeable because some of those panels are close-up shots. It's not everything, it's not all of it, but it's just a couple of spots you tend to notice it. So, final thoughts. What do we think about Transformers number 5? It's fun, it's exciting, it's action-packed, it's dramatic, it's edge-of-your-seat stuff, plenty of wow moments, plenty of things that kind of tickle that nostalgia bone for people who remember the original Transformers. But there's a little bit of a mature edge and definitely strong emotional beats to kind of give it a maturity and a development that makes it feel a little bit more more mature. Mature is the word I keep thinking of. It more mature and more modern and more considerate of the source material. So, having said that, we're going to give Transformers number 5 a very, very solid 9 out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this review. Before you leave, please like, share, comment, subscribe to Comical Opinions for more comic reviews and analysis every week. I'm Gabriel Hernandez, your publisher in EIC. Have a great day.